I'm Trevor Toom. I'm an associate professor of economics at the University of Calgary and a research fellow here at the School of Public Policy. I'm also one of the three co-directors of a new initiative called Finances of the Nation that seeks to bring together data and analysis for Canadian public finance, both provincially and federally, to help facilitate high quality public policy conversations in the country. Well, it's hard to say that there's any issue more important than COVID and the pandemic right now. So clearly, I think governments are rightly focused on controlling the virus, and that needs to come first, but also supporting individuals and businesses through restrictions for public health purposes. So large income transfers, for example, in support of households and businesses. But what that has done is led to a fairly large increase in federal and provincial debt levels. And once we come through to the other side of the crisis, it's going to be a pretty important challenge for governments to think about tax policy and spending policies to ensure that our debt levels are sustainable. And where I think that maybe the biggest challenge is, as far as public finance is concerned, actually at the level of the province. An aging population over the coming decades will add fairly significantly to healthcare expenditures. And it looks like current projections are for provincial debt levels to be rising even more than anything related to COVID over the next 10 years, just due to health cost increases. So the federal government is in a fairly sustainable situation, provinces less so. And we're going to need to think about how to rearrange public finances in the country after COVID has passed. So part of what the economic recovery is going to involve after we're through the public health crisis will be supporting individuals and businesses getting back to normal levels of activity. So often that takes the form of government subsidies for infrastructure projects, for example. There's a great deal of conversation now around government support for expanded childcare availability and affordability throughout the country, for example, to help people return to the labor market. So while they're doing that, going back to what I think is one of the more pressing challenges for Canada, which is an aging population and rising health costs for provincial governments, is for the federal government to think about how it can use its fiscal capacity to better support provincial governments. Provinces are unlikely to see revenues increase over the coming years enough to cover the rising healthcare costs. But the federal government has the reverse or I guess it's not a problem for the federal government, the reverse situation where their revenues are expected to grow much faster than federal spending responsibilities. So changing the way in which federal transfers to provinces work, increasing the size of those transfers, potentially tying them to things like demographics, where the federal government provides larger transfers to provinces with much older populations like British Columbia or Atlantic provinces in particular. Reforming and enhancing federal transfers, I think, can go a long way to addressing the fiscal challenge related to an aging population.